Hey, horror fans, welcome back to Jay vs. Horror. Today, we're going to be doing just a straight up recommendation for a film I just recently saw, and it's called Rent a Pal from 2020. Guys, this one is written and directed by John Stevenson, who has done a few other things, but nothing up to this level so far. He did a film in 2019 called Hoax that showed some promise for an indie filmmaker, but this one is really a home run. The film stars Will Wheaton as Andy and Brian Landis Folkins as David. Now we meet David early on here, and he's kind of a lovable loser. He takes care of his mother full time, and he has a weird relationship with her because she was kind of, you get the feeling, very mean to him when he was a kid, and not as caring as maybe she could have been. But he is taking care of her. He's doing the best he can. And it's weird because she has dementia, and he has these conversations with her where he is basically relating to her as just another person, almost like two people waiting in an elevator or in a lobby or something, not two people that are family, because he just kind of tells her things from the point of view as, well, this is my family, what my family does, and she says the same thing. And it's odd, but it's a way for them to have conversations without him confusing her or upsetting her by telling her who he is, or isn't, at this point. And so that doesn't take up the whole part of the movie, though. It's just in the opening where they're building this character of David and showing us how sad and lonely his life is. And then we see that he's also involved in this video dating service. And this is something that was big in the 90s, late 80s into the 90s. You've probably seen it referenced on stuff like the Goldbergs, Tales from the Crypt, things like that. People did this, and it was basically the eHarmony of that era. They would make videotapes, they would take them to a provider who would then put copies of the tapes out for other people to watch. If they were interested, they would match them up that way. And it doesn't seem like the best way to meet somebody, because of course, you could meet a bad person or something this way, but so you could, you online. So anyway, but yeah, that's what was going on with the video dating. And so this film, early on, we could tell, is pretty much set in the, I would say, early to mid 90s, and David is shelling out some major cash to this video service who's really not providing him with anything. He's just looking for somebody to talk to, somebody who will, care about him. Basically, that's what he's looking for in life, and he has a lot of love to give. He wants to express that. This place, they're only interested in taking his money. They're not helping him find a match or anything like that, and they're taking advantage of the poor guy. But while he's there one day, while he's checking out some new videos of new ladies, he sees a discount bargain bin next to the receptionist desk. He walks over there and looks around, and he sees this video in there called Rent a Pal, and it has a picture of Will Wheaton's character Andy on the front. And it's just so you can imagine what this guy looks like. It's very similar to Mr. Rogers, right? That type of feel, that kind of production value too, and all that. But anyway, so as we move on here, just on a whim, David buys the video. He takes it home and he starts to watch it, and this movie is creepy as fuck, and it's also one of the smartest things I've seen in years. I'll say that. Just the way it's planned out from the get-go is incredibly intelligent. And we always complain about we never see anything original anymore. There's never anything creative. This film proves that that is not true at all, okay? So he puts in this video, Rent a Pal, and Andy comes on screen, played by Will Wheaton. I mean, just flawlessly in this film. And Andy starts to have a conversation with him. Now, this is like a primer conversation, because it's basically asking you to give him your name, and he pauses while you say your name, and then he'll ask you this, and he'll pause while you answer. And so David plays around with the video a little bit at first, but he kind of thinks that it's weird, so he turns it off. Later, he turns it back on and plays with it some more. And then he kind of has this defining moment early on where this video company, they call him back up. They say, look, we got a match for you. And he hasn't had a match in 6 or 8 months or something. So he runs down there only to realize he's left his wallet behind. And they will not do anything for him without cash, without a credit card. So he runs back home to grab his wallet, runs back over there. But by the time he gets there, they tell him, oh, we're sorry, well, she had several matches. You weren't her only match, so when you didn't have the money to pay for the video. We just went down the line to the next person, called them. They came in and they were interested. So now we can't set you up till we see how their date goes. And he's just devastated, right? And but he asked to see the video anyway, and they go ahead, of course, because they want the money. They sell it to him for like $29.99 or something. And he takes it home and watches it, and that doesn't help because it's just this girl who would have been perfect for him. Very understated, cute girl, caregiver like himself, very kind. And it sends him into like this whirlwind depression, which I'm sure he's probably been through before. I'm sure it's not the first time he's had this kind of breakdown, seeing the type of person that he is. But this time he has his buddy Andy, and so we see that he goes on this like binge drinking thing where he's all, he'll go take care of his mother, but then he's right back downstairs to drinking and watching this tape, and he begins to be able to talk to this tape. And I imagine this is what it was intended for in the first place, that if somebody caught on to it, they could do this. That, he learns what Will Wheaton is going to say to him. He learns what manner it's going to be said, and he starts having conversations with the tape while it plays. Now, as it moves on, we see that there are far more things on this tape than just the opening that we're first shown, where he's just getting to know you and putting across this, innocent, I want to be friends type thing. As it moves on, we see that Andy asks questions like, what's the most embarrassing thing that's ever happened to you in your life, and he waits for you to tell the story. And so David, of course, in his mind is able to time the story that he needs to tell perfectly so he can have this interaction with Andy. And this goes on like this, where he's creating this real connection to this pre-recorded videotape. And there's also some subtle psychological things in here. Now, if you know anything about this era, from the late 70s to the mid-90s, stuff like that, there was a lot of talk about subliminal messaging, advertising things to certain people in a certain way where they would just, feel compelled to buy it. And there's more to it than we'll ever know because, a lot of it got shut down once the government figured out what was going on with it. And this is true. It sounds like I'm making up conspiracy theories here. Go read Night Chills by Dean Koontz. The first 40 pages of the book, Dean talks about the factual, he clarifies the facts of this phenomenon that was happening in the 70s and 80s that people don't even know about, right? And then he tells a story about it. But anyway, so that's kind of, you see that's probably what's going on here to a certain extent. Will Wheaton seems to be a master of this, even though he's not physical in the movie ever. He's always on tape. It's not real. It's not him having, but he's figured out a way to do this to people. There are certain moments in the film where he'll be trying to talk. He'll ask you a question, so you're trying to respond, but then a phone rings and it disrupts your train of thought. So you try to respond again, and then the phone rings again at a certain time. That told me that there's subliminal stuff going on here, and not just that. It's the way that Will Wheaton talks to the character of David, and it is very generalized, but it's also made to focus someone into believing that it is specific to them. David basically changes his life. There's moments in the video where Will Wheaton's character Andy will say, "Wow, I like your place." Well, he'll go out and buy a bunch of stuff and fix the place up. So when he says that, it has meaning. He'll say things like, there's one great scene here where they play Go Fish. So basically, Will Wheaton's character, whoever he is, wherever the fuck he is, whoever made this video, he knew when he did this that he was slowly, integrating this guy's thoughts into the video, because he had to learn how to play this game move by move to make it perfect. And the only way to make everything in the video perfect is to learn all these things. And so we see that David is watching the video more and more every day. He's going through and all this stuff, and as it plays, we're shown more conversations that we weren't aware of earlier that the Will Wheaton character is having with him. And then something crazy happens, and it's not what you think. And I don't want to spoil it. It's not what you think. Because what you think happens here, or I'll say this, what I thought was going to happen. this was going to take some kind of supernatural turn. The tape is demonic, or there's a lot of ways it could have went with it. David is totally fucking insane. None of this is real in the first place. That would have been an easy way out. But the movie never does that. It never compromises what its story is, and it never lies to you. It shows you exactly what's happening, and then what becomes a question here is the context. Where do it goes from he's pre-programmed to have these conversations with Andy. He later on in the film does get a match, and once he is taken away from Andy or starts to take time away from the video to be with this woman, we see that there are even darker conversations in the video. And also, not only are these conversations dark, but they change in context as the way David's brain works. What's going on in his life changes the context of the conversation drastically. There are moments where things will happen to him that have happened before where it was a different conversation, but now the context changes. The movie is fucking brilliant in the way it does its psychological horror game. And there's not a lot of gore in it. There's some stuff at the end that, I think there has to be some horror in it or it doesn't work at all. So they do that. They do put some horror elements in it towards the end to have a payoff, to have to keep you thinking too, because by the time this movie is over, you don't know, like, this has huge sequel potential. I mean, this has huge sequel potential, and the game of it, the trying to figure out what is real, what's not, what is this purposely being done to somebody, or there's a million different ways it could go. This movie's a great watch. If you like hardcore horror, if you like seeing people get chopped up and that's all you're into, or if you only like movies like Insidious where something jumps out and tries to, grab your ankles or something like that, then no, it's not going to be for you. But if you enjoy films like Daniel Isn't Real, if you enjoy psychological horror films that will fuck with your mind, this is one of the best you will ever see. It's called Rent a Pal from 2020, guys. You have to check it out as soon as possible. And that's all we got for today. And guys, I am giving Rent a Pal 8 out of 10. Solid 8 out of 10. I'm a little amped up about it right now, so I have to be careful when I'm like that when I see something that I really like for the first time that I haven't heard a lot of people talk about, because I'm liable to give it like 9. But, just to be fair, I'll give it 8 out of 10, and I don't think if I give it at that score, anybody's going to be disappointed with it when they watch it after having told them what it's about, what audience it's directed for. And, guys, we will talk to you the next time we've got something worth talking about. Bye.